Welcome to Healing Your Family Legacy, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Innovative, evidence-based recovery that helps to identify intergenerational trauma, allowing for freedom and embracement of the healing process. Today, episode 161, Courage, Part 2. And now your host, Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee.
This is Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee helping you heal your family legacy. So last time I was talking about this concept of courage and, what it means and, that it takes moral and, mental and psychological and sometimes physical perseverance to get through something that you are afraid of. Because, if you have never faced a fear, which I can't believe that you haven't because you're a human being on this planet. But if you've never faced a fear, you probably don't know what courage is. And what I've discovered, and I don't have anything to prove this, so if you go try and look this up, you might not find anything. But what I've discovered over the last 50 years of being a therapist is that when people have the courage to challenge themselves, their thoughts, their beliefs, their value systems, their courage increases. So, it's like once you find out that you can, do that, climb that mountain, or do that snowshoe, or face your childhood trauma and look at it and understand it and be educated about it. Once you've done that, your courage increases and your fear decreases. Now, it's sometimes, when I'm in a situation or having a conversation with a friend or even with a client, and they tell me how afraid they are of whatever it is they think is going to happen because, here's the other thing. Fear, unless there is a situation that is absolutely dangerous to you in the moment, fear is always about the future. And sometimes it's fear of the past that's now in your present. So my point is that real courage is something that once you've faced it down a few times, it's just not as frightening because you realize that there isn't anything right now in the here and now that's going to hurt me. Now, if you are in a car and you're saying to yourself, well, I'm all good. I can't tell you that in the next 10 minutes, you'll be that good. You might have blow out your tire, or some person who's, not paying attention might hit your car or whatever. But in the moment, if you are safe and secure and doing your daily life, you're probably, not having to experience a courageous thing, and you probably don't need to have a lot of fear. But you never know when that moment's going to come in your daily life. What I could tell you about facing your childhood trauma, and I've said this, I don't know how many times, but sometimes people say, I finally heard that the 10th time you said it, is that being willing and making a decision to change your adult life means that you will likely have to look at what happened to you as a child to understand how you got there in the first place. I have a back thing that, at my age, that's a common thing. But I have a back issue. And when I go to doctors, because I've gone to a few, to see what can you do, what can you do, what can you do? So when I walk in and I say, here's the deal, what can you do? Let's have an x-ray, let's have an MRI. No one's ever said to me, your back's perfectly fine. I think you're good. No. So your back's is a disaster area, and it looks like it's been kind of a disaster for a long time. But as you get older, of course, things that were there before start to cause problems. Now, I know this back thing has been around for a long time. Long, not like probably most of my life. And periodically, it's raised its ugly head, but because I was young and because my cells divided faster, and so I'd have healing faster, all those things. It's like if I was tweaked or something, it was okay in a few minutes or the next day, no problem. Now it's not like that. So I go to the doctor. I found one that I'm going to work with for a while. And, he says to me, here's the deal. You have this, and this going on. It looks like it's been going on a long time, so it's going to take some time. And, I go, okay. But then I say, how did this happen? How did this happen? Most people would want to know that. And so does a doctor. It's like I go, I've never had broken bones, knocking on wood right now. But I have really strong bones. So when my wife shattered her wrist, and had a compound displaced fracture sticking out, with bones sticking out of her arm, the doctor, one of the first things the doctor said once they, did immediate emergency response was, how'd this happen? What happened? It's not just a matter of curiosity. It's going to be important when they treat you. If she says, well, somebody came along and just broke my arm for me, it's like, it's a different story than, I fell into something that has wood and dirt and all that. Okay, now it's a bigger deal, right? It's important to know how that happened. And physically, people will always ask how that happened. My wonderful, delightful, I have two now, grandsons, but my one that I've had for longer did the first thing that, this every kid has had happen, and that is it went flying around, one's running and went flying around a corner, fell down, and cut his head open. And had his first stitches. The first thing the doctor asked, how'd he do this? Why? They need to know. There are so many things. How did this happen? So my point is that physically, when something happens, that you want to, you're going, oh my gosh, what's happened here? You want a divorce? What's happened here? People want to know how that happened. So if you have a history of toxic relationships, if you are an addict, if you have, mental health issues, instead of going to find somebody that will cure it, and I'm putting that in air quotes, cure it for you with some magic potion, ask them, help me understand what happened here. I want to know how I got to this place. I want to know what happened. And you know what? If they aren't asking you, go somewhere else. Because their job, once they've stabilized everything, okay, like if you're ready to commit suicide and you go in and say, help me, I'm going to commit suicide. If somebody says, well, let's talk about your childhood trauma, go away and find someone else that says, let's deal with your suicide issues, get you stabilized, and then we'll find out what happened. And then we'll find out how you got to this place. I mean, it's not something you just talk about ad nauseum forever for the rest of your life, God forbid. But it is something that is necessary, useful, and important to find out what happened. You have a history of depression? let's find out what happened once we know you're not suicidal. Let's find out how you got here. Now, you might need some assistance. Say the depression's been going on so long and the trauma was so extreme that your brain needs a little help to get yourself feeling well enough to turn around and look at how this happened. So then you might have medication or, there's so many different things that people are doing now. But at the end of the day, once you feel like you're stabilized and your therapist thinks that you're stabilized and you both agree that, okay, I think I'm good, I'm not going to go commit suicide or hurt anybody, then the next question is, what happened? How did this happen to me? It is not what I wanted in my life. Like, what did you want in your life? Well, I wanted to, have a family. Do you have one? No. Why is that? Well, I haven't been able to find anybody that, either likes me or I like them enough. And, if I want a family, I'd really like to have it with somebody. Makes sense. What happened to make that so hard for you to get when you look around and you see families everywhere? Or how about, I just can't seem to hold a job? What happened? So if you want a real change in your life, one that you are responsible for, one that you make a decision about, that you can make your own choices about how you go forward in your life, that's what you do. I mentioned this before because when it happened, I had a lot of emotional energy around it. But clients that I knew for a very long time, at least 10 years, a married couple, they came in, they were both recovering addicts, but he was still having issues around another addiction, a co-addiction that he, we all have, if you're an addict, you have more than one addiction, I just want to say. So anyway, they were both willing to be courageous enough to see why we love each other, but boy, are we having struggles in this marriage. Fighting. If you bring it up, it's a fight, but we love each other. We want, it's like, okay, well, let's find out what happened. They were courageous. They each did it. Then they looked at the history of the relationship. They each worked so hard. And their relationship finally got to a place where I thought, that is a wonderful relationship. I hope that mine is that good. And it stayed good. Okay? And then she died. About 10 years later. COVID. If anyone ever tells you it's not deadly, I want to tell you she wasn't an old person. And she died of COVID. Now here's the deal. Her husband, who had multiple addictions, but were in recovery for them all, and had the courage to face and embrace his childhood trauma. He's going through grief and loss. He has so much courage. He hasn't gone back to his addictions at all, not even put a toe in it. He hasn't done the thing that, in the marriage and family counseling world, I don't know if this is still true or not because I'm not as into it as I was. But we used to have a little saying around there that when, a spouse dies, women grieve and men remarry. And, that's pretty true. When, it's like men don't stay single very long for the most part. Now, that may not be true for everybody. I understand that. It's never the same. It's never all, okay? And, he was honest enough to say, I want to get someone in my life. I just can't bear this loneliness and the sadness and this pain and the anger and the suffering and everything that goes along with in very intense grief. But, he chose me to talk to about all this. And I have to say, even coming back to me was a courageous act, because I would not have known what he was doing, because I'm not in his life every single day. I mean, he could have been doing all kinds of things, but he's not. And he's courageous, and he knows that this is part of his journey. And he's made a commitment to himself that he's going to stay on that journey. He's not going to go off the rails, as it were, and act out in one of his addictions or find somebody else that will fix him for a while. My point is that I have seen the change, and I've heard people talk to me about the impact that work had on them. He said, I know I would be out there again, but it doesn't even occur to me to go out there again. I don't feel like I want to go out and act out in my addictions. Honestly, I just don't want to feel these feelings anymore, but I know I have to in order to heal. Now, that man has the courage. That man, if I had a poster that said, here is the picture of courage, he'd be on it. But his courage started before, when he really looked at his childhood trauma. No, it's like, here's a fact. Nobody hit him. Nobody, called him names. Baby of the family, everybody, kind of doted on him. Came from a really privileged background, so he never knew need, except the need for connection. Nobody was there. Kind of got treated like the family pet. Feed it, water it, it grows. Take care of it if it gets hurt. It grows. Yeah, that's as traumatic and abusive as somebody who's pounding on you. It has a different kind of impact, but understand it's a huge impact on your adult life. And it doesn't just go away. It doesn't. It follows you around like a bad dream. And so, this is an example. When you are willing to turn around and have courage to face down that childhood trauma, face down that adult trauma, you have the courage to do that. Remember, you've already been through it. It's not going to hurt you again. Just understanding and unloading the emotional energy that doesn't belong to you and allowing yourself to heal. When you do that, one of the things that happens is that you become a more functional adult. Now, is it a promise that you'll never have pain or sadness in your life? No, you'll never hear me say that. What I will say to you is that, yes, there will still be sadness in your life. There will be pain in your life. There will be grief in your life. It's what life is. But it won't crush you. It won't take you in another direction unless you want to go there. You'll be able to make better decisions for how you get through it, because you're not going to be curled up in a ball 24/7, like, crying like a little child, which if you're an adult, you're not. You're not a little child.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes the trauma is so extreme as an adult that you might be curled up in a ball. But there's, when you have either healed from your childhood trauma or you have grown up in a family that is nurturing, so you don't have that load, it's like you're able to go through those adult traumas and those adult experiences without, in a way that will make you grow stronger, that will make you grow. It will make you grow in ways that you didn't know you could grow. And you become more courageous. So, on this note of courage, one of the things I've talked about is that, even as you grow and even as you age, you will always have opportunities to do things that might be kind of scary. And like I've said before, fear, unless somebody's pointing a gun at you or something and you have fear is always about the future. And so I'm going to let you know that in the future, I'm going to go to a broader platform. And that platform is called mindbodyspirit.fm. And so I'll be leaving Experience of the Soul starting next session. But I want to tell you a little bit about this. My friend, Cynthia Alice, invited me to be on Experience of the Soul. It's her channel. And at the time, it was right after, the pandemic started, and, I was trying to figure out what am I going to do? And, she contacted me and said, would you like to start a podcast on my channel? And I said, sure. I have no idea what to do or how to do it. But it sounds like it could be something good. And she helped me through it. She offered me the opportunity. She introduced me to Dave, my wonderful friend and producer. And he'll be going with me, by the way. He knows me, and that helps me. But what happened, I was scared to do it. I'll tell you, I lost sleep before my first podcast because I didn't know what was in the future. It didn't stop me. It rarely does unless somebody's aiming a gun at me. So I went ahead with it. And at first, I was really scared every single time. And then over time, I realized that there's nothing to be afraid of here. No one's going to come in here and hurt me. It's like some people might disagree with me, and that's fine. Some people might be mad at me sometimes, and that's fine too. But this is a podcast. And so I realized, well, here's the deal. And my friend Dave explained this to me. It took me a while to figure it out. Kind of like when people are talking about their childhood trauma. It's like, he said, just talk to people. Pretend you're just talking to people, because that's what you're doing. And you've done it before. Geez, the first time I ever was talking to people in a speech kind of way, I was 3 years old. I've been doing it all my life. And just because I can't see you all, I know you're there. So good. So I realized I was just talking to people about their childhood trauma and healing their family legacy. And all this is like a wonderful opportunity that Cynthia Alice offered me. She is a wonderful human being. I love her with all my heart. I will forever, for the rest of my life, appreciate that she thought to ask me and that she stood beside me when I was really scared. And, we've been friends for a long time. And I love doing this show. I've loved it all the time. But just like everything else in life, it's a season and it comes to an end. And so as I move forward, I just want to tell you all that I appreciate and love Cynthia Alice, and that the work she does in the world is changing people in her own way. It's like I am in my own way. And that she changed me. I'm not afraid anymore of this. I've been doing it long enough that I know what it is. And I'll keep doing it. Just on a different channel. mindbodyspirit.fm. And I would also encourage you, if you want to still tune in to Experience of the Soul and listen to what's going on there, because she always has good things. So I'm signing off, and the next time I talk to you, it will be on mindbodyspirit.fm. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Healing Your Family Legacy here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. Healing Your Family Legacy is copyright 2024, Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.